This is great. Okay, good evening. This is a special meeting of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment being held electronically via Zoom on November 4th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. Pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given by prominently posting the sunshine notice of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment. Such notice has been placed on the official bulletin board at the municipal complex, Princeton Municipal Complex, and by transmitting a copy of the notice to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, the Times, Trentonian, and by filing a copy with the Clerk of Princeton on October 29, 2020, and has been posted to the municipal website, www.princetonnj.gov/meetings. Pursuant to Executive Order 107, due to the state of emergency in New Jersey regarding COVID-19 coronavirus, notice that during the declared state of emergency, all regular and special meetings of the Princeton Zoning Board of Adjustment will be held electronically via Zoom, was transmitted to the Princeton Packet, Town Topics, and the Times, and was filed with the Clerk of Princeton on the 24th day of April 2020. Such notices have been placed on the official bulletin board at the municipal complex and on the Princeton website, and are to be maintained throughout the year, and by transmitting a copy of same to the Princeton Packet, Town Topic, the Times, Trentonian, Comcast Media, and by filing a copy thereof with the clerk of the Princeton, it says. Notices have been placed on all window doors of the municipal complex. Claudia, can you call the roll?
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Coulson?
Here.
Mr. Davidge?
Here.
Mr. Floyd?
Here.
Mr. Shriver?
Here.
Mr. Tenenbaum?
Here.
Mr. Valvanis?
Here.
Ms. Chen?
Here.
Mr. Stein?
I'm here.
Thank you.
Okay, we have two applications this evening. The first one is case number Z 2020-891, 44 Armour Road, block 10.01, lot 36, in the R1 zone of the former borough.
Chairman Cohen,
Yes.
there was a revised agenda sent out with a
Oh.
resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I'm delinquent. All right, the resolution, do I have it?
For 166, 168 John Street.
Right.
I'm
Okay,
trying to move over the attorney for the applicant.
okay.
I don't see Mr. DeGracia on the attendees.
He told me this afternoon he had reviewed it and he didn't have any comments.
Okay.
Okay, well, do any of the board members have any comments on the resolution? Okay, if no one's had any comments, does somebody want to make a motion?
I move to approve. Valvanis.
Who's second? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, who moved to approve?
Nick Valvanis did.
Okay.
And I'll second it, Stephen Schreiber.
Okay, Claudia?
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Coulson,
Yes.
Mr. Davidge,
Yes.
Mr. Floyd,
Yes.
Mr. Shriver,
Yes.
Mr. Valvanis,
Yes.
Ms. Chen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry for that oversight. Okay, now our first application, 44 Armour Road, block 10.01, lot 36 in the R1 zone. And again, I'm sorry, the case Z 2020-891. Derek, I guess you want to be sworn and then give us an opening statement?
Mr. Bridger, before I swear you in, I'll note the noticing is in order. The board has jurisdiction tonight. And do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me 1 second. I'm trying to bring over the attorney as a panelist. I think I found them.
Okay to begin?
He's not on yet.
I think Glenn is the attorney. Glenn.
I'm here.
I don't have a last name there.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We
We can
can't
hear
see you.
Can't see you.
I don't know why.
Hmm.
Oh, hey, start video. Okay, that would help.
There you go.
There we are.
Okay.
Great.
Sir, do you have any professionals that you need to bring over to panelists?
Yes, I have Mike Ford, who's the engineer, and Francis Trevis, who's the architect.
Hello?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. I don't know why I can't get my video.
Hey, Mike?
Ward,
I'm
we can
good.
see you.
Hello.
There
Okay,
you go.
there you go.
Shall I begin, Steve?
Yes, please.
Great, thank you. Good evening, board. Kevin D'Souza is the owner of 44 Armor Road. Bogey Construction is the applicant. They are seeking a C1 and C2 variance relief to permit the demolition of an existing single-family home, construction of a new home, in exception to the required lot width. Additional bulk variances are requested. Property is located in the R1 zone. It is subject to the use and bulk regulations in accordance with 17A, 227, and 231 of the former Princeton Borough Land Use Ordinance. The existing single-family house is permitted as of right. The subject is non-complying with respect to lot width. The requirement's 125, and the existing is 109.1. The subject property is non-complying with respect to the combined side yard setback requirement of 30, and the existing is 28.6. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing single-family home and construct a new single-family home. The proposed 5,900 square foot house will feature 5 bedrooms, 6.5 baths. Site improvements include an expanded driveway, in-ground pool with patio and landscaping. The project requires the following variances. Lot width, the required lot width is 125 and the proposed lot width is 109. In accordance with section 17A 403B2A, the maximum length of a front facade wall is 45 feet. The proposed is 52 feet. The ordinance limits the length of the front facade wall to 45 feet without either stepping inward or outward, a minimum of 4 feet, with the stipulation that the minimum wall length facing the street be 8 feet. The breaks in the proposed front facade are broken up by 2 2-foot 4-inch columns. The side yard setback for the garage is required in accordance with section 17A 403E1A. The required setback is 8 feet. The proposed setback is 0. That's flush with the front facade of the house. And then finally, there's a maximum impervious coverage variance requested in accordance with 10B 246.1. The maximum required is 22.5, and the proposed is 26.12. They have requested consideration under both the C1 and the C2. And that's a short synopsis of my memo. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to address them.
Any board members have any questions? Michael?
Yeah, Derek, I just want to confirm, my recollection, 17A 4013 is relatively a new amendment to a couple years ago to the ordinance.
Good memory. Yes, sir. It's the neighborhood character.
Neighborhood character, and that the town hired a consultant, had focus groups on it.
We had a couple consultants and several year process, and it was kind of centered on garage placement and facade lengths and orientation towards the street. So,
Okay, thanks.
Derek, just a quick one. What year was that passed?
November 2018.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I guess, Glenn, would you like to start?
Glenn, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
If I may, I'd like to address first, the lot width, which I think is the simplest one.
Can I make a suggestion? Would you like to identify your witnesses and get them sworn in at this point?
Sure. I have Francis Trevis, who's the architect, and Mike Ford, who's the engineer.
Gentlemen, I can swear you in. Would you both raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Yes, I do.
Just as a qualification, Mr. Ford, you're with Van Cleef Engineering?
That's correct, sir.
Yes, and have you testified before this board before?
I may have in the last 30 years, but I don't recall this specific board.
Okay, but you are a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey?
And planner, yeah. Yes, sir.
And planner, okay.
Yes.
All right, well, I know you by reputation, so I would feel comfortable accepting you as a witness.
Thank you.
Mr. Trevis, I do know you.
Yes,
But would you give us
we know
your-
each other.
Right, would you are a registered architect in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I'm a registered architect.
Okay, all right, okay, well, I would accept your qualifications.
Okay.
Okay, all right, Glenn.
All right, if I may, I'd like to address the lot width first. As the board can see from the exhibits that are attached to the application, this property is somewhat unique within the neighborhood in that it's like a trapezoid. It's narrower in the front, but much wider in the back. It's over twice the size required by the zone, but the frontage is only 109 feet. As we've indicated, the lots on either side are also non-compliant, so we can't buy any property to make ours compliant. All right. However, if you look throughout the neighborhood and on the tax map, we fit within the zone and within the neighborhood, probably one of the larger lots within the neighborhood. And as Mr. Tevis will get into with respect to the other variances, the structural variance for the new house, we are so far set back so as to have ameliorated, it seems to me, that small width deviation. Anybody have any questions?
I'm back. I had a glitch there.
Any questions?
I had none.
All right. At this point, I'd ask Mr. Tevis to speak to the, I guess, the neighborhood, what Mr. Floyd referred to as the neighborhood conformity requirement of the wall.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Maybe if you can pull out the rendering of the front. I think that in the spirit of the ordinance, first of all, I think the way it was written was for making adjustments to the front facade so that it was articulated, and you wouldn't have a garage and facing the street. This garage actually has the doors facing the side, and the fact that it has a long lower wall is broken up substantially by the fact that it has a 2-foot overhang, and the second floor is set back from the front wall another 6 feet. So it sort of reduces the bulk of the length of the wall and the size of it. And while the running length exceeds the required length, it is broken up by just 2-story sort of main element in the center of the facade. So, I mean, we think that also by the fact that the facade is, what, 120 feet back from the curb line. I'm just sort of looking at what the distance on the front is. I think the required median frontage is supposed to be 86 feet back, but we're back 105 feet. So we're actually further back than is required. And in the spirit of the ordinance, I think that, you know, the ordinance tries to address homes that are really right up against, you know, a setback line, whereby the bulk of the garage might be certainly intimidating if it was very large and if it was unarticulated. But this is both set back quite at a distance, and we believe it's pretty well articulated to reduce its bulk certainly from the distance that it's seen from the street. And
Mr. Tevis, would you speak to the issue of the trees on the lot as well?
yeah, I mean, furthermore, what we've done is we've placed the house approximately 10 feet or more back from where the existing house is right now. If you pull out the existing footprint and you compare the exhibit that I sent people that had the exhibit E.1, which has the existing footprint. The existing home had 2 appendages that were actually probably at least 10 foot closer than the front wall of the proposed house in Exhibit E. And the large trees in the front, some of them are as much as 36-inch diameter. They're 4 large trees that really do screen the house from the street. So again, in the spirit of the ordinance, I think that the landscaping also contributes to, you know, making any deviation that we might be doing further or harder to discern from the curb line. So we don't think that the setback, the additional 8 feet and shift of the garage plane would really, you know, enhance anything more than what we've already proposed.
All right, Mr. Tevis, finally address the side garage setback.
The garage side yard setback is about 32 and change. Trying to see here. It's I'm kind of looking at it. Okay. Who's enabled the graphic, because this is the existing house.
Well, sir, you're able to share your screen if you have it in your screen.
Oh, okay. Let me, how do we do this? Share screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see this?
I can see the site plan, the proposed site plan.
Right, but it's not very large. Is that better?
It is.
Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay. Yeah, you can see the setback on the side is about 32 feet from the house to the fence line, existing fence line. And it's setback from the curb or from the front property line 105 feet. So it's and then it's setback on the rear. It looks like the rear yard is 182 feet from the Stockton Street fence line. So it's a little bit more, we'll say it's certainly mid site, but it's closer to Armour. But as you can see, what we're doing is we're enlarging the rotary of the driveway, adding some additional impervious or pervious red stones to the border. We're adding a Belgian block transition at the street, and another one that will create a transition to the block hardscape driveway, which is going to be we're proposing it to be an E.P. Henry pervious paving system, which actually allows water to go through the joints. And we're proposing to put a curb line, a Belgian block, and the drawing may show that it says open joint, but I think what we decided is that we're gonna put a closed jointed curb line along the property line to contain the water in this area. And then I think Glenn, you'll probably introduce Mike on some of those.
Right. Well, why don't we get there now?
Right.
Mike, if you would please address the the issue of the impervious coverage and the proposed impervious coverage, and how you
Okay.
plan to deal with the slight increase.
Okay. Yes, we're permitted 22.5% impervious coverage, and that's because this lot area is just over 0.99 acres, which would be the next lower category, which would allow you to go to 25% impervious coverage. So we're in that category of 1 acre to the next lot size up that restricts the impervious coverage to 22.5. Today, the existing condition with the existing dwelling and driveway was at 25.3%, so slightly over that 22.5 already. And then the proposed condition, we're proposing about a 0.82% impervious coverage increase over that which is existing to bring us to 26.12%. This is on the architect's plan, upper right-hand corner list of bulk standards in the view, if you want to go over to that. Part of those new impervious coverage elements are the replacement of the dwelling. The footprint of the existing dwelling is over 5,000 square feet, whereas the proposed dwelling, which is a 2-story structure as opposed to the existing single-story existing structure, reduces the footprint of the dwelling to about 3,000 square feet. There is an increase in the impervious coverage regarding the driveway, and that is, as Francis just described, to accomplish the extension of the driveway to accommodate a side entry garage, thus eliminating the garage facing Armour Road. Then there also was a project element, which is an in-ground pool of some 600 square feet, which is in and by itself 1.4% of the total impervious coverage. And that 600 square foot pool, while technically in accordance with the ordinance required to be included as part of the impervious coverage, the runoff from that pool will be zero, with the exception of some catastrophic event where you have a rainstorm that would cause it to overflow. And then with regards to stormwater runoff, as was described, and this is a common concern about additional impervious coverage, what we're proposing is a curb line along that edge of the driveway that faces our neighbor to the east or northeast. Therefore, unlike the existing condition where there is no curb to cut off drainage there that would now drain potentially onto our neighbors, we would essentially cut off that drainage with a curb line and direct it out toward Amwar. And with the implementation of, rather than standard pavement, this porous paver system, if you will, with the voids or openings between the paver blocks and a bed of stone below it, would act as an infiltration element to help recharge groundwater and reduce runoff from that pervious or what we're technically required to call impervious surface. Therefore, at the end of the day, and this would be reviewed and approved by your engineer as part of the formal building permit application, we would provide for grading, drainage, engineered elements that would preclude adverse impacts to any of our neighbors to the east or west, and facilitate stormwater management such that the proposed condition, although it would be a slight 0.8% impervious increase, would actually be an improvement over the existing condition. And I'm sorry, I think Glenn, you're trying to speak.
No,
Okay. And we would agree to, as a condition of any approval the board may grant, to address that grading and drainage elements such that we would not have any adverse impact to any of our existing residential neighbors, and do that to the satisfaction of the town engineer. And might I add that your town ordinance already requires, and this would be part of the application with the new house, roof runoff from the dwelling, while the existing dwelling didn't have any such stormwater management facility. The new dwelling would be would include a stormwater management facility such as a rain garden or a dry well system, an infiltration system with the roof leaders connected to that system such that it would promote the infiltration of that stormwater runoff from the dwelling and thus reduce runoff from the site. And that's it.
Mr. Ford, are you also offering planning testimony tonight? You're a planner, correct?
Yes, to the extent the impervious coverage variance necessitates the impervious or the professional planning testimony. And that was, I'll say, that was part of my description, the de minimis increase in impervious coverage, less than 1%, including as part of that element of the increase in impervious coverage, a pool of 600 some square feet that actually is greater than our total increase in impervious coverage on the site from the existing condition. And that pool representing a project element, unlike the roof runoff or the driveways and the stone that obviously do have runoff from them, the pool having zero runoff from it. And then these mitigating measures that'll be implemented as part of the application that don't exist in the current condition to control and reduce stormwater runoff from the site. And then part of the application is siting the dwelling, utilizing the driveway in such a manner as to minimize the disturbance of the existing landscaping and trees on site. And certainly as part of any building permit application, to the extent the tree preservation plan is required and a visit from somebody at the town to identify the trees on site. And I see that there actually is already tree protection fencing around the existing trees as the demolition of the existing dwelling is ongoing at this time. So those elements, I think, offset any detriment to any of our neighbors and the siting of the house such that it's slightly further back from the road and preserving the existing landscape screening, that is those mature trees in front of the house to screen the house, and then complement that with additional landscaping that would be part of any new construction would help to screen the house from our neighbors. And I might add too, the existing dwelling today along our east, I'll call it the easterly property line, which is the property line where the proposed side entry garage faces. The proposed dwelling will be over 32 feet, and I think Francis mentioned this, from the side yard, whereas in the existing condition, the existing dwelling was less than 14 feet from that side property line. So we're even stepping the dwelling back substantially from the property line to our immediate neighbor to the east.
Is that the conclusion of your testimony?
Yes,
Okay, is that Glenn? Are you saying yes?
yes,
Okay, so you're done presenting.
yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Why don't we, Mr. Trevis, can you get rid of share your screen right now? So we can all get back on the screen. Okay. Okay, so if that's the conclusion of your testimony, we'll open it up to board discussion. Are there any members who have any questions of the applicant? Michael?
Yeah, I was wondering, you mentioned the trees and how you believe it does some screening. Has an arborist looked at those trees? Because when I was out there today, it struck me they look pretty aged and could be close to their life cycle. Do you have any information? Has anybody looked at it? Because I wonder if the trees will even be there 5 years from now. Has anybody?
Actually, I have the principal of the applicant here who engaged an arborist. I mean, if you want to swear him, he can speak to that issue.
Okay,
All right,
good.
and what is his name?
Okay, all right, I'm going to let him sit here. Spell your name and.
Hi to everyone. I'm Darko from Bogi Construction Company. My name is D-A-R-K-O. Last name R-A-D-O-J-C-I-C.
And the name of your company is?
It's a
Is it full?
B-O-G-Y Construction.
Okay, got it. And if you would raise your right hand, sir, you swear affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful.
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, what I would like to go back to Mr. Michael question about the trees. I with the client D'Souza and me, we met with expert for a tree, and he evaluated all the trees. Most of the major big trees in the property, it's gonna be for a long time. It's very healthy tree, especially the big one. The tree what you can see on your plans, on the survey plans, and also the front one. So basically, my client actually main reason to buy this property was because of the trees. And the first thing what he did is actually check the trees, and we got a confirmation, and we can send you that in a writing from expert, the tree expert.
Yeah, and I was specifically asking about the trees that appear in picture 10 and picture 12, the ones that are in front of the building. And
Do you want me to bring that up on the
I
screen?
got it here.
oh, that'd be good.
Here.
Make sure we're talking about the same ones.
I can launch a photo.
I have it in front of me here. I can see I have the picture here. Yes, this is a good tree, and it's gonna stay there for a long time.
Darko, you might have to put it up to up to the camera. Either that or I can.
I can pull, but basically this is a picture of what we're looking. I don't know if you can guys see it, but you can maybe pull it on your screen.
I could, if I could have a screen share, I could get that photo from the front. I could get a front photo of the property.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. Does everybody see that?
Not yet.
No.
No.
Not yet.
Okay,
Everybody see that?
Mhm.
Yes.
yes, we do.
Okay. This is from within the driveway. And to the left, there's a larger tree in front of it. So if you have a plan in front of you, you can kind of see where the 4 trees are in the
Yeah.
front. This one is the one that's probably see if I go back. This one tree is one tree that perhaps is the least of them healthy, but it's still going to last for quite some time.
Okay.
This one is going to be taken down, and I
Okay.
think I've identified that on the plan.
If I may, Francis, Mr. Francis, if you can go back to the picture 1. Actually, this tree here on the picture 1.
That one?
Yeah, no, the first one that you see the Armor Road. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
So what you see the first the picture the tree from the left, you left side, that one in the middle, it's in excellent condition. Okay.
These 3 are in excellent
This
condition.
is excellent condition. The one further to the right. Okay?
This one.
Yes, these had a little bit issues, but
Yeah.
The 3 experts say that if we trim it properly, which we're gonna do it, it's gonna still can be there for another probably between 5 to 10 years without any problem.
5 to 10 years was the life expectancy?
No, they just say we didn't go to the real detail, but he said we didn't need to worry because if you trim it properly, it could be there for another 5, 10, 15 years. This is how he basically said to us.
Okay.
So we can, there's just have to be trimmed. But other 2 is a perfect condition. And on the back of the house and the side of the house, we have also like 100-some years old tree, which is gonna also, of course, save it. And it's actually very important detail for this project.
Do you want me to show the back of the property?
I was more worried about the front trees, so.
This is the back of the property. There's some extremely
Huge.
sizable trees in the back.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about those.
Does that satisfy you, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does, yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board members have any questions? Well, I have a couple.
Okay.
This is a new house. And you've requested, putting aside the lot width variance, the neighborhood ordinance variance, you're requesting 3 variations from it. Why?
I think it's largely because of the compactness of keeping the footprint efficient with the number of rooms in the program, and to keep it, I'd say within a compact envelope, and to meet the program of the client.
Okay, I mean, I understand that,
Right.
but it still has to, in my opinion, it should address the ordinance. And maybe some of it are little items, but
Sure.
the offset of the garage.
Do you want me to pull up a drawing or something, Steve?
Well, I don't know if we need to do that. That's up to you. But the offset of the garage, I understand it's 32 feet to the side yard, but it's called for in the ordinance to be offset by a certain amount, and it's not. It's called for an offset of 8 feet, and it's 0.
Right.
The front yard, again, the length of the front facade and the main wall, there calls for an offset there, and there's none. So I'm just wondering, again, it is part of the ordinance, and it's a new house.
That's true,
So-
but I think the ordinance, what it does is it sort of dictates something that's essentially from the point of view of a first floor planning. It doesn't really take into account the height as much. And if you were strictly reading it from a footprint and not looking at it volumetrically, the ordinance doesn't really address second floor setbacks. And I think that the house really accomplishes, in the spirit of the ordinance, the setback of, the second floor is set back 6 feet from the front wall of the garage. And while it's not a vertical split, a vertical split of the whole facade, it certainly accomplishes reducing the bulk of the garage to the left of the center section significantly.
I mean, I can understand what you're saying with regard to the front. I mean, there's a lot of articulation in the front. I mean,
and there's also a roof. There's also a roof overhang that's about 2 feet over the front of the garage, which also further sort of reduces the bulk by giving it some shadow, which it's not really shown, but in effect it would reduce the height of the garage. And I think the ordinance looks to have kind of a vertical shift and a setback of the whole volume, but I couldn't really accomplish that without really changing a significant amount of the first floor plan. And
what about the 8-foot offset of the garage itself?
Well, it's at 0 on the first floor, but if you look at the ordinance in the massing diagrams in the ordinance, it sort of shows a garage, kind of a garage wall that's sort of first and second floor. What this property does is it shifts the second floor back, not, we'll say 8 feet, but certainly in the spirit of what the ordinance tries to accomplish by at least shifting the second floor back at 6 feet. And it actually appears to be more closer to 8 feet because of we'll call it the piers of the front center sort of section of the house, which is the study that sort of stacks over the dining area. That portion of the facade actually extends out 2 feet. So in theory, you've got kind of an 8-foot setback from the front of the main, vertical central section back to the second floor. You'll have actually 8 feet on the second floor. You just don't have it on the first floor.
No, I think
You only have a 2-foot articulation on the first floor.
I'm actually, I think it doesn't meet the ordinance, but I think there's a lot of articulation in the front facade. So, that your answers sort of satisfy me. One question though, going back to the impervious coverage, I understand you're only a slight increase over the existing, but it's a significant increase over the allowable. And you said you expanded the driveway. You have a very extensive pool deck, let alone the pool itself. And I can understand the logic there. But the pool deck itself is very large. It's the entire length of the house, and it's all impervious. And even though your house is set back 30 feet from the property line on the side, that 30 feet is hardscape. and I understand the I'll call them grass block pavers, but they are sitting on a compacted bed of gravel, which doesn't necessarily allow for as much infiltration as grass. So there's a lot of paving there on the side. And maybe this next question should be directed at Mr. Ford. You indicated, at least I thought I heard you say, that you were going to collect the water and run it to Armour Road? You're going to collect some of the water and run it to Armour?
Yeah, the concern would be directing runoff to either one of our neighbors on either side and not toward the road.
Well, no, that goes without saying. You know, you can't, you know, you really should not increase the amount of runoff onto an adjacent property. And this without any engineering would clearly do that. But where is the water going to go from that extensive paved driveway on the side?
We actually have, it'll be toward the Armour Road, and we actually have a catch basin in the road immediately adjacent to the existing driveway that we have, you know, that exists.
In the road? In
Yeah.
Armour?
Yes.
Well, I think that's one option. I think the other option we spoke of was to collect the water from that pervious paver and have a subgrade piping to a dry well in the back, right?
Well,
Towards the back and not running through the front, because the front was rather shallow and we didn't know where the inlet would be relative to that.
Yeah,
subgrade.
The dry wells would be appropriate for clean runoff that's not, you know, got debris in it. So that would be the roof runoff, and that would be the 3,000 square feet of the roof. With regards to the driveway, it would be perhaps more appropriate to have that discharge to a rain garden type of facility that would be a small depressed landscaped area in the front, immediately, you know, in the area of, you know, between those trees that we're trying to preserve. I think the actual current conditions even have a little depression there as an existing condition, but it's fairly flat from the front of the house out to the road right now.
But then as you get further back, the house is back, it starts to drop off towards 206.
That's correct. Right.
So,
and that's where we would envision placing the dry wells, and the roof runoff from the house itself would be directed into those dry wells for infiltration.
okay. I mean, my concern about putting a rain garden in the front around the trees is that's not going to help the, as Mr. Floyd's concerned on the longevity of the trees, surrounding them with water is not going to be helpful.
No, we don't want to do that either.
Okay, well, all right, the bottom line for me is that our engineer, our municipal engineer, I think should look very closely at the plan to make sure that the runoff is handled properly, so it doesn't allow for any increase in the rate of runoff to the adjacent neighbors, especially the neighbor immediately to the east, adjacent to the driveway. And then, although I don't think it's going to be a major issue, there isn't, even though you're reducing the setback from 15 feet to 12 feet on the west property line, I don't think you're going to have a major difference in the runoff on that side to those adjacent properties that front on Elm Road. So, okay, well, those were my questions and comments. Anyone else like to say anything relative to this?
Yeah, I'm convinced by what I hear about and what I see regarding the massing and the garage. Even though it's flush with the house on the first floor, I do think that the volume is being addressed. It's being broken down by the way that the second floor and the roofs are handled. I do have a question about the amount of driveway area. It seems it's a lot of driveway, and it seems that it's fairly generous in if you're already over in impervious coverage, that it could be reduced somewhat. If it's 3 cars, 3-car garage, you know, maybe you don't, and it's a pretty deep area to back out, plus the turnaround, and then a pretty generous circle in the front. It just seems as though maybe you could reduce some of that impervious coverage by tightening up the driveway a bit.
At least bring it down to where it was in the existing house.
Right, it's been added to in the front, and then, you know, also it seems like it's a pretty generous turnaround, because you have the width of a 3-car garage there. So you could imagine that they can use some of that to pull forward and out. So that's my comment.
Mike, do you want me to speak to that? I think the reason why we increased we'll call it the roundabout, was that in the current house, you can't actually use that as a roundabout. You actually have to back in and back out. So that's the reason why we added a little bit of the wings to that. And as far as the 3-car garage goes, the actual dimension is actually fairly tight. 32 feet is not that generous for a car to do a K-turn. To back, you still have to back out and do a K-turn to go out. 35 feet would be better. This is actually, because you have a 4-foot buffer, it's only about 28 feet. So, you know, if you've been in a parking spots, you know, 20 to 25 feet, maybe between cars when you're backing out in a parking garage, is doable. This is giving you just a couple of additional feet, but you have to do a maneuver to do a K-turn to get out. So it's pretty tight. There's not really much that you can do to change, you know, the dimensions of that. As I said, we could probably look to reducing a little bit of the rotary in the front. That might help a little bit.
Didn't you say that the rotary is pervious?
Yes, that's the basically we're going to extend the existing crushed red gravel, and it's going to be on I guess a larger cobble bed, but it's essentially going to extend what's already there. And
So
that area,
changing that isn't going to give you any more.
Does that help at all, Bernice?
Yeah, I see a bit of what you're saying about the front being difficult to do the full turnaround. I mean, not every house has a turnaround as well, but I can see that it's a kind of an odd config. It's not really a real circle. It's kind of oblong. You know, it's a choice in any case.
But again, as an offset, maybe some of the pool deck, again, you know, you can take a little bit out of the side. We're just, again, you're asking for a variance over the 22.5% of, you know, just under 4%, which is significant, and you're dealing with a new house. which means you do have a great deal of flexibility. And so maybe there could be something that brings it down that whatever, 1% or less than 1% to get it to at least the pre-existing maximum.
All right, if I may. The applicant says that we can trim a little bit of the pool deck. In the rear, so that will reduce it. We can't guarantee it will make it conforming, but we'll certainly reduce it.
Well, can you
It's 15
guarantee
feet.
that it will be conforming? How much do you have to take out of it to allow it to conform?
Mike, can you answer that question? Probably all of it, right?
Right. Yeah. To get down to the pre-existing condition,
Yes.
that's at 25.3%. First, that would be about 360 square feet. That's basically the 0.8% increase that we're proposing now,
Okay.
Well,
which is about 360 square feet, sir.
Okay, the deck is 42 feet deep from the back of the house nominally to the edge of the deck in the back. And to get down how many square feet again did you say? 800?
360.
360, and you have 42 feet to the back. So you have a 12-foot deck on either side. So if you took a little bit of the 15-foot and decrease that in the back, and
yes, you could if you took it in about 7 feet, let's say 6 feet, you'd reduce it about almost 500 square feet, 450 square feet.
So I think you can take enough out of that back pool deck to bring it back into the 25, was it 25.3?
We'll agree to do that.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Are there any other board members that have any questions? Okay. Claudia, do we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this application? We're opening it up to the public portion of the hearing.
Bradley Hubbard, I think, has a hand up.
Okay, I see Anita Thomas. Bradley Hubbard. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Hubbard, if you could give us your address and then we need to swear you in.
Great. So I live at 21 Elm.
All right, and do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I just had some questions and more I was seeking to understand. So we're the property that's in the middle two properties where the house pretty much goes up, as best I can tell, right up against the fence line there.
Yes.
Just to clarify, I think I heard that the house that was there prior, it was about 15 feet off of our line. And as I understand it, I'm a little confused because I was trying to follow the notes. Is it 4 feet from the line now or 11 feet?
I believe it's more than that. Mr. Ford, Mr. Travis, can you answer that?
It's 12 feet.
Okay, so it's 3 foot closer. What part of what we were trying to understand along I guess our concerns are with the house being closer and giving what I've been listening to with runoff, like, how do we protect more water coming onto our property with it being closer in a 2-story house? Are there opportunities to provide more relief off our property line? I heard some discussion during this around, are there ways to kind of reduce the driveway so that we could get back closer to more relief? And part of my line of questioning there is the closer you get to our line, it's our assumption that that restricts what we can do in the future too. And so I think it's just trying to understand what options you considered for having more relief from our fence line.
More relief in terms of setback?
Yeah, I'm probably not using the right word. I'm
No,
sorry.
fine.
But yeah,
I understand. I just wanted to clarify that.
yeah, so the setback off of our property line where the existing fence lies.
Okay, I understand.
And really it was coming from this in the spirit of the drainage or any type of additional water it could introduce onto our property, and just being closer, given that, we have a large backyard, that currently, for the most part, we couldn't see the house that was there before because of the trees. And now we're putting a 2-story house close to our fence line, kind of right in our view out our back windows. And so I'm just trying to understand if we could do more to set it back, and even preserving the trees. You didn't address the side trees. You talked a lot about the front trees. There are several trees along this line, and I'm wondering, with moving it closer to the fence, are you also planning on taking out those trees?
That's a good question.
All right. My client says that all of them will stay.
Say that again, please.
All of those trees along the sideline by Mr. Hubbard will remain.
They'll be protected and they will remain?
Correct.
Okay, and if by chance they do come down, they'll be replaced?
Correct.
Okay.
There's a very large tree right up, actually the fence line goes around the tree. And I think that tree is not going to go anywhere. In fact, the fence line might have to be altered to some extent, and might go right to the tree because the tree is on the property line.
Yeah.
So
it's a large tree. I know which one you're talking about.
Right. And I think what we've done by the municipal code is to provide the right sky exposure plane, and we've met the ordinance. We've kept a hip roof along that property line to reduce the height of the structure to keep it within the compliance requirements. So, and there is a roof overhang that to some extent will collect water along that side, and it will actually probably as of right, you can project the roof overhang I think like 3 feet over, or so it does protect the side yard, and the gutter and leader system, as Mike Ford spoke about, will be collecting the water from that roof into a subgrade drainage system. It's not going to discharge right on the side yard. It's going to be conducted away. So we don't think that there's going to be significant water along that side of the property.
But Mr. Hubbard, to your concern, we are going to, and which would be part of the normal process anyway, in terms of building permit approval, our engineer will look at the proposed drainage plan to guarantee that the rate of runoff that currently exists from the applicant's property to yours is not increased. And so they will take a look at that. And that is the same for the house to the east, which is, again, like we had said a moment ago, there is an increase in the hardscape there, even though the house is set back, and that needs to be, that eastern property line and adjacent property needs to be protected.
Okay, I think that addresses our primary concern, because the I guess I'll call it the contours of the land here are sloped towards Elm and towards 206.
Right.
So that is the concern of increased water on our property. Okay. And then I'm glad to hear that we'll keep the trees. That'll provide some coverage of the house. I think the one thing that wasn't necessarily answered, and maybe it was in an earlier comment, I've been trying to follow some of the terminology is more technical than I'm used to, around was there an opportunity to have less driveway on the space, which would also reduce the amount of impervious coverage and also allow the house to be moved further away from the property line? And maybe it's already compliant. I just thought I'd heard maybe incorrectly that there was an adjustment made there too.
Well, I think the applicant said that, again, our concern was at least bringing it back to a point in the impervious coverage that we're not increasing it over what currently exists now. Obviously, it's still several percent over the ordinance requirement, but the lot is just under the 1 acre, which would allow for the 25%. I mean, just
makes sense.
And I think with a good engineered drainage plan, I think any adverse effects can be mitigated.
It was more in the spirit of the house not being as close to the fence.
I understand. I understand. Okay. Okay. Do you have any other questions, Mr. Hubbard?
I don't. If my wife does, I'll have her raise her hand.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we have, who's going to be our next?
Anita Thomas. I am the
Okay.
next door neighbor. And so my husband and I had submitted a
Well, Mrs. Thomas, what is your address, please?
36 Alma Road, Princeton.
And we need to swear you in, do you swear affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes.
Thank you.
I do. Thank you. So my husband and I had submitted a letter earlier today. So I know most of the concerns we had were already discussed, but I am assuming that we were advised that we need to read this letter so it is recorded. Would you want me to go through the entire letter, or?
If you want it as part of the record, then you should read it in.
Okay, thank you. So the redesign of 44 Alma Road includes a 3-car garage and extended driveway on the right side of our house. The application proposes to exceed the total allowable impervious cover by about 1,577 square feet, an increase of about 3.62% more than is permitted. However, it is not just the amount of the increase in imperviousness that is of a concern. The application proposes to place about 2,000 square feet of newly paved driveway immediately adjacent to the common property line with 36 Alma Road. This 2,000 square feet of the additional driveway is down gradient from the principal paved driveway area, which occupies another 2,500 square feet. All of this paved driveway area drains to the area adjoining the common side property lined with 36 Alma. This represents a total amount of paved driveway area that is about twice the area of the existing paved driveway. In addition, none of the existing paved driveway areas drain towards the adjoining home at 36 Alma Road. The existing home has all of this driveway in the front yard, with no paved driveway at all in the side yard. By comparison, all of the new driveway areas drain towards a common property line with 36 Alma Road. It is hard to imagine that what is proposed will not cause drainage problems. Accordingly, common sense and good engineering practice suggests that the runoff from the driveway be collected and recharged by means of subsurface drainage improvements in a manner that will have no negative consequences to any neighboring properties. This should be based on actual engineering analysis reviewed and approved by the town engineer. In addition, the grading of the proposed new home and yard should be such that runoff does not discharge towards any of the neighboring properties, including 36 Alma. The additional hard surface in the design will alter the water drainage system, and we need to ensure that we will not be adversely impacted by the following. The design should ensure the excess water is maintained and managed in 44 Alma Road and does not impact our home or our property. The design should ensure no impact to the trees in our property, specifically the large oak tree in the front, the beech and pine trees adjacent to 44 Alma. Our concern is that changes in the water drainage could lead to excess water on our property, which could weaken the roots and foundation of these tall, old trees, which could become a liability if the trees fall. We observe that the house on 44 Alma is currently being demolished, and we want to confirm the proper permits are in place, and we also want to get an understanding of why this activity took place prior to the scheduled discussion to review the design. The observation noted above has been discussed with the neighbors, and they were copied in the distribution of this message. I thank you.
Thank you. Glenn, do you want to address the concern of Ms. Thomas?
I think we addressed each and every one of those concerns. We had seen the letter before we came here tonight. And so far as I can tell, we have addressed every single issue that Ms. Thomas has raised.
Yeah, if I may, do I need to be sworn in?
You do, sir. What is your name?
My name is Abraham Thomas.
And Mr. Thomas, do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes.
Okay.
If the trees fall because of drainage issues, who's liable?
Which tree? Which trees?
The trees we just discussed. Tall oak tree in front of Armour Road and beech and pine trees on the side adjacent to 44 Armour.
Are they on your property or on 44 Armour property? I don't know.
On our property.
Well, first of all, you'd have to have an expert to prove that runoff was what caused the trees to fall.
I'm sorry, but we're talking about a drainage change that you're implemented.
No, we're
Why do we
talking
have to
about
bring on
moving
an
all of the water, so there is no additional runoff coming onto your house. The township engineer's got to approve the drainage plan, and that's one of the requirements.
Yes, and that needs to be proven to us.
Well, that's why the municipality hires an independent, an engineer to work for all the citizens in the town. He's not our engineer, he's the municipal engineer.
Right, and I'm saying the liability is not going to be ours.
Well, if I can address this, and I can't address anything in terms of liability, I'm not an attorney. But the Mr. Ford is going to prepare a drainage plan. He's going to present that to our municipal engineer as part of the approval package. And he's got to satisfy our engineer that his drainage plan is adequate. And
Correct. And what I'm saying is, in the event something does happen, we want to be protected.
I can't speak to that.
Yep. That's all we're saying.
Okay, but we're taking the precautions of assuring, at least to the extent we can, assuring that the drainage plan that will be prepared will be adequate, and hopefully our engineer will feel the same way. It will be up to him to make that decision, but ultimately, if there is an issue regarding the drainage plan, it still falls on the engineer for the applicant and the applicant themselves.
And it falls on the jurisdiction that's protecting us that we pay taxes to.
Well, I don't, I mean, that's something that our attorney can speak to, but it doesn't relate to the liability of the municipality.
I think it does.
Okay, well, I'm not an attorney. I can't speak to that.
Yep.
So, but we're recommending that the drainage plan be reviewed by our engineer, which it would be anyway, whether we noted it in our approval or not. And we're trying to assure that your property and Mr. Hubbard's property and the other adjacent properties are all protected from the runoff.
Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this application?
Yes, please. My name is Manny Giulio. I am the neighbor on Armour Road on the other side from Anita on 56 Armour Road, so towards Elm.
Mr. Giulio, before you begin testifying, do you swear affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just had two questions, if you could clarify. There is a wood fence today mostly between Brad's property and the property you're talking about, kind of on the corner of ours. And in the drawings, there's a reference to a 6-inch concrete curb with a 36-inch fence. So I couldn't understand, are you going to remove the wood fence that there is today and replace it, or not?
Would it be easy to share a screen to show what you're actually referring to?
Sure.
Fence line?
To you.
Call from Cohen, Jason.
Should we go to the existing site survey? Is this the fence?
Correct. Yeah, it kind of starts where you have that iron pin, probably a
Right
foot
here.
more. Yeah, and it kind of goes towards 206.
Yes, this right here, actually, there's a very large tree right on the property line right there. This fence is gonna have to be realigned to be along the property line. And it may stop at the tree and pick up on the other side of the tree.
Okay, and will it be a wood fence or?
It'll be the same fence if they can actually rebuild and use the fence that's there and just take it out and realign it. That's probably what they'll do.
Perfect. Okay. And my other question was, I assume you'll be digging a foundation for this new home, and on the kind of where that iron pin is, as well as the tree you just referenced, are both very close to the borderline, and they're huge trees. So given you're coming close to the borderline, and I assume, but this is my question, that you're going to be digging a deep foundation there, is there any risk to those trees being impacted?
Well, right now, there's already a foundation that's 15 feet that's there already.
Is there a basement under that portion of the existing house?
I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Yes, there is. And a pool, and a huge pool. There's a huge pool there too.
This is a pool.
Inside the house.
The pool's in the back.
No. The existing house, yeah. This is a pool.
Is there a basement under this portion?
Yes.
Okay, so the corner of the house will be a little bit in from this.
Right, so you're gonna you're gonna have to dig, I guess, closer towards the line is my point. And so there are these very large trees there. And my only point is, will it impact, or can you make sure it doesn't impact any of their roots? Because obviously.
Yes, we'll give that assurance.
Okay, then I think it would be a good idea if you had your arborist comment on that in the engineering documents that go to the municipal engineer.
Sure, we could do that.
Good.
Okay, that was it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Back to the original screen, please. Okay, are there any other people in the, Mr. Hubbard, would you like to speak again?
Yes, please.
Please.
Do I need to be sworn in again?
You're still under oath.
Okay. Manny asked a really good question around the fence. Were you planning on doing anything with the rest of the fence beyond that tree? Are you planning on taking it out or doing anything different with the fence along that line?
No.
Okay. It just sparked the question, so. And thanks, Manny, for the question about the tree.
Okay, anyone else in the audience like to speak to this application? Claudia, is there anyone else out there?
Yes.
Okay. If there is, if they can identify themselves Okay. Mr. Hagan.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Megan, could you give us your address and then we'll swear you in before you start testifying? Can't hear you. I think you muted yourself. There you go.
Better? Sorry.
Yeah.
My name is Lee Hagan. I live at 27 Armour Road.
All right. And Mr. Hagan, do you swear or affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So, I guess I just want to lob in a concern for someone that's lived in the block for over 25 years. The character of the block are sort of small former professors' houses, sort of quirky, small places. This thing is almost 6,000 square feet. And, you know, I'm sad to see the McMansion virus spreading to this block. I know there's not much we can do about it, but I wish there was more we could do. I know it complies with site coverage. It complies with, you know, most of the ordinances, except some of these we've discussed tonight, but it's just sad that the character of the neighborhood is started downhill. That's all.
Lee, can I respond to you?
Certainly.
First of all, it's not 6,000 square feet. It's only about 4,500 square feet. And it's as much as one can to create a compact design in terms of its roof lines. And it's within right. So I think that we've achieved everything that we can possibly do to keep it reduced in size.
Well, you know, I appreciate the plan of the house. I appreciate what you've done. I just don't think it's on the right site. You know, it should be on a lot that's twice the width, and it's not in keeping with the character of the block. So it's an opinion. We can't enforce it, but I need to get it out there because you know, it's a sad day. That's all.
Understood.
Anything else, Mr. Hagan?
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, is there anyone else out there who would like to speak? Claudia, anyone?
I don't see anybody else.
Okay, seeing no more or hearing no more comments from the audience, I'll close the public portion of the hearing and open it up to the board for discussion. Comments from the board? Anyone? Okay, well, let me start. I think again, going through the variances, the lot width is a given. The length of the house, basically the neighborhood ordinance portion of it, I do agree with Mr. Trevis that there's a lot of relief in the house, and I think the facade will be adequately articulated if, even though it doesn't meet the letter of the ordinance. I think that I'm pleased that we're going to reduce the impervious coverage back to that existed as of yesterday. I think that, and the drainage, obviously. I think the drainage we've discussed adequately. We've got the neighbors' comments in the testimony, and I think hopefully the neighbors are on board with this approach. And so I would recommend approval with you know, of the project as proposed, with the exception of the impervious coverage, which will be reduced to that which previously existed. So Anybody else want to comment? I am not making a motion. I think the motion should come from someone else, but please. Michael? Are you?
No, I was
Oh.
just adjusting my screen.
Okay.
I concur with you, Steve.
Yeah, I agree with that almost motion that you made.
Okay. Well, okay, so I guess I can make a motion. So I'd like to make a motion for approval with the lot width variance, length of the facade, the front facade portion, the setback portion, and the impervious coverage being reduced to that which previously existed. And again, the drainage discussion that we had and all the testimony related to it, including this last fencing discussion, and obviously the testimony of Mr. Ford and Mr. Trevis.
Can we confirm that for the record that the existing as per their application impervious coverage was 26.12%? Is that the?
Well, that's
the proposed,
That's
the existing.
proposed.
That's the proposed. We're going to take it down to, what is it, Mr. Ford, 25.3?
Correct.
Okay.
Is it important to say anything about the protection of the trees, or did you cover that?
Well, I think we can add that the trees need to be adequately protected, not only the front trees, but the trees in the side property line, and to the extent that those trees suffer from this, they will be replaced by the applicant.
Steve, regarding the stormwater, there were a lot of comments made that they wouldn't increase the runoff to the neighbors. I don't know if you want to have that explicitly stated in the condition.
Okay, we can. I think we said it in the discussion that the rate of runoff from the property, from all the property lines, should not increase over what currently exists now, and the drainage plan will basically attest to that. The drainage plan that's provided with the building permit application, and that's to be reviewed by our municipal engineer.
Was there a motion? Can I second your motion to accept it, Stephen?
Yeah, I made my motion. We amended it.
And I'll second your motion to, and also, yeah, I think the stipulation on the stormwater, it appears there's a lot of opportunities to do some creative stormwater management within the back, because you got advantageous slope toward the back. So I think rain garden or other type of underground dry well. I think there are a couple of different opportunities to do some creative stormwater stuff the back, to take into account that that enlarged driveway by the garage. I think if we're able to do that, then I second that.
Okay, and we'll add that to the motion. Okay. And you seconded that. Is there any discussion now to the amended motion? Okay, Claudia?
Mr.
Please.
Cohen,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Davidge,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Tannenbaum,
Yes.
Mr. Galvanis.
Yes.
Thank you, it's approved.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Our next application is Z 2020-893 214 Bertrand Road, Block 3202, Lot 14, in the R4 zone. Mr. Bridger, I guess I'm assuming all the
Yes.
Applicants and witnesses are here?
Yes.
And I'll
Okay,
note the noticing is in order and the board has jurisdiction tonight.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Thornton and Craig Carnaroli are the owners and applicants for 214 Bertrand Road. They're seeking a C2 variance to permit an addition and exception to the required building height to setback ratio. Properties in the R4 zone in the former Princeton Township. The existing single-family use is permitted as of right. The subject lot is complying with respect to all the applicable bulk regulations. The applicant is proposing to construct several additions. A trash enclosure and sunroom are proposed on the first floor, and a master bedroom, expanded master bath, and an enclosed porch are proposed on the second floor. All of the additions comply with all the applicable bulk requirements, except the second floor master bedroom, which encroaches into the required building height to setback. The required building height to setback ratio is 1 to 1.5, and the proposed is 1 to 1.23. They have requested consideration under the C2 criteria. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to address them. Thanks.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, please begin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Craig Carnaroli. I'm joined by my wife, Amy Thornton. We are not in the same location, so she's still at work at the hospital. And I'm joined with our architect, Louisa Clayton, who I understand you all know professionally. So I'd like to begin just by thanking Derek and his colleagues for getting us on the agenda for this evening, as well as the board for making time to hear our application. I will say I was impressed by the board member I met this morning at 8 a.m. outside my house studying the plans as I was walking my dog. I won't call her out, but I was impressed by the dedication of the board and just in this discussion earlier, how serious you take your responsibilities. I have a brief presentation that I thought I would share just to illustrate what Derek very well summarized.
Mr. Carnaroli, I'm sorry to interrupt. Should have sworn you in sooner. Do you swear affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Would you like to, at this time, swear your witness in?
Sure. Hey, Louisa.
You have to unmute
Clayton?
yourself. Yeah, there you go.
Do you swear affirm your testimony this evening will be truthful?
I do.
Thank you.
And I think, Louisa, we can qualify you as an expert witness. And so I think we're okay unless anybody has any questions. Okay, please proceed.
All right. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. What you see on the first slide here is, let me see if I make this 75, is the existing house. The proposed addition will be on the north side of the house on sort of what is the right part of my screen. So the second slide, let's see if I can get down here, is just to show you that our house and proposed addition is very much in keeping with the character of our neighborhood. So these are the houses that are across the street and to the south of us on Bertrand Drive. The other thing I would note is that, as Derek noted, the height setback that we're requesting most directly impacts our neighbors to the north, and their houses run perpendicular to Herrontown Road. So you can see the large space between our houses, which exceeds the 170 feet requirement. So this is an illustration of the proposed renovation you can see on the north side of the house. So it pretty much is in keeping with the house. It adds about 1,000 square feet, consistent with the purposes that Derek outlined in his opening comments. It's basically, we're taking an existing bedroom and expanding that to become a new master with a new master suite and new master bath. So remain a 4-bedroom home, at the same time adding a sunroom for the back of the house. And then finally, this is a great illustration of the really de minimis encroachment. This meets all the bulk standards of the zoning ordinance, whether it's the side yard, the rear yard, front yard setbacks, floor area ratio, impervious coverage. It's the only thing it doesn't meet is the setback to height ratio, as Derek summarized. And so this minor encroachment you can see here on the screen is a little bit from the roof line. So instead of being at the 1.5, it ends up being at 1.23. And so just to illustrate finally this graphic here, you can see on the left side, this is the side where the addition would occur. And this is the space between our house and our neighbors. And they really face on Herrontown. So you can see the 170 feet. We're very much within that parameter. So really very little disruption to any of our neighbors. And that concludes my presentation. So I'm going to stop share so we can come back together.
Hey, Ms. Clayton, are you going to say anything or is that it?
I think Craig covered most of it. I think the reason that we looked at several options, and we decided on this option of building up over top of the existing one-story family room because it makes sense functionally for the house where the plumbing already exists, and just expanding off of that side of the house. Also, although we are meeting the impervious coverage requirements on the lot, it's, we're not adding really much more, and we're just trying to kind of have minimal disruption to the landscaping in the lot and the neighborhood by building on top of something that's already there. So we think it's a small encroachment that, like Craig said, where, the side where the neighbor is it faces their backyard and it's quite far away from their house. So it shouldn't bother them really too much.
If you were to, can you tell me if you were to cut back the second, well, first of all, why can't you meet the ordinance?
Well, we looked at cutting it back, and it just looks a little bit odd since the first floor is already there. So to cut it back, it just looks like the house just kind of doesn't extend all the way for some funny reason that is probably due to zoning ordinances. And then if we lower the roof on that part of the addition, the ceiling height is compromised. And we're not talking about crazy ceiling heights. I mean, we're looking, the existing second floor is an 8-foot ceiling. So we're not trying to go any higher than that. So I think it really does present a hardship in terms of, making this house, keeping the character of the house, keeping the symmetry of the house, and making it look intact and thoughtfully designed.
Okay, how much would you have to take off it? How much would that width of the room on the second floor have to be cut back in order to get it to conform?
Probably about 5 feet, so not much.
Okay,
But
well,
enough to make it look funny, I think, from the street.
okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Have you considered a design where you essentially just slice off?
George, can you speak a little louder, please?
I'm sorry. Have you considered a design where you essentially just slice off a portion of that wall to keep it conforming with the required angle?
Well, again, the ceiling heights are compromised at that point. I mean, then we'd get down to about like a 6'4", 6'5" ceiling height on that side of the room, which is not ideal.
Thank you.
Craig, could you go back to the picture of your house from the existing house from the street that you showed?
Sure, no problem. So, sorry here, give me a sec.
Well, it's a curiosity question because it looks like on the plans, like that roof is a lot higher than what it looks like. It must just be the angle of the picture. You're not doing anything to the roof, are you?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Carnaroli, why don't we just call all these slides Exhibit A1? That's how we'll refer to them. All right, great.
Terrific.
Okay.
I'll also add that the the addition itself, in terms of the side yard setback, the side yard setback in this zone is 15 feet, and we're 24 and a half feet back. So we are significantly back from the property line. It's just in this case, it's the height to setback ratio, that diagonal line that we're cutting. So again, we're not encroaching, very close to the property line at all. And we're encroaching no closer than it already is.
Anyone else on the board have any questions?
I have one question. It looks like, does the slope go up from that corner?
Yeah, it's a hip roof. It's a hip roof, yeah.
No, not the roof, the slope of the ground, because looking at it, it says grade here. So it looks like the grade is going up. If the grade was flat, that would change the angle a little bit, wouldn't it? I'm just thinking that, I don't know how that makes it a difference, but it looks like the grade is going up from that corner.
It goes up a little bit. It's
Yeah.
I mean, as you can see from that front, the photo from the street.
Right.
And I'm sure if you visited the lot, know that the whole neighborhood is kind of going uphill.
Sloping that way a little bit.
In a couple directions. So.
Yeah, no, because if it was flat, that would actually make the angle even less. So you'd be more in compliance if it was flat. I don't know how that impacts it. I just thought I'd note that if the site was flat there, it actually change that angle so you're more compliant than as it shows here.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, I just have a comment. I agree that aesthetically, I think the addition is in keeping with the house. And it would look better the way it is now, but not really a hardship, just as an aside. So that was my comment.
They requested C2.
Yeah, it isn't being requested as a C1,
Okay.
it's as a C2.
C2, I know. Okay. All right, any other board comments? Okay. Claudia, is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this? We'll open the public portion of the hearing.
Just moved her over.
I'm sorry, say that again, Claudia?
It's on the screen now. Her name is on.
Erlene?
Erlene? Okay. Erlene, can you unmute yourself and join us? Huh. That was close. Claudia, is there any way to signal Erlene to?
I'm not making any comments. I'm just observing.
Okay,
great.
Thank you very much. Again, is there anyone else in the audience? Is Amy Thornton?
That's my wife, and she's
Okay.
yeah. There you
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Do you want to speak?
I don't think there's anything I could add that would enhance the discussion beyond what my husband Craig and what our architect and expert Louisa have said.
Fine. Anyone else in the audience? Okay. Hearing no one, I'll close the public portion of the hearing and open it up to board comments. Somebody like to speak to this?
Certainly have to say that the house looks like it conforms to the neighborhood, even with this addition.
Yeah.
So I support the proposal.
Yeah. I would agree. I think the addition is sensitive to the original house, it obviously being significantly far away from the adjacent house to the north, and there is a screened, a landscape buffer there. And again, it seems to be very consistent with the original architecture and the neighborhood.
I think also it's below maximum height. It's significantly below the 35-foot height.
Yeah,
The impact is limited.
I agree. Anyone else?
Seems like a good solution to me. I don't find it in any way problematic, other than that we need to approve it, but, or not, but that's what we would need to do.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Any conditions on the motion?
Other than our usual lighting and other things, no.
No, those aren't really conditions,
So
as I was reminded. But no, okay, but
I'm missing something there, but okay.
yeah. So, all right, so you'll make a motion for approval. Anybody like to comment on that or second it?
Is that
I'll second it.
a C2?
Yes.
I second it, Stephen Schreiber.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Claudia, can you call the roll?
Cohen,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Floyd,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Did you call Valvanis?
Yeah, I'm waiting for Mr. Tenenbaum.
I didn't hear my name. I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Valvanis?
Yes.
Thank you. It's approved.
Okay. Thank you. Go forth and build.
Thank you so much. We really
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much. Have a good evening.
Good
Okay.
evening. Thanks again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. I don't think we have anything else to discuss tonight. Our next meeting will be our regular meeting on the 18th.
It's actually a special meeting, but that is the next meeting.
Yes.
We got notices mixed up and we had to fit the hotel in, so that's why it's on the 18th as opposed to the regular meeting, which I think was on the,
Okay, that'll be the next. So we have a meeting on the 18th, and then our regular meeting will be when?
it was canceled. It's on the 11th, but
Okay, so that'll be the 11th of next month.
and I apologize for all the special meetings, but I thank everyone for their flexibility and ability to make them meetings, and hopefully after next month, we get the hotel out of the system. We should settle down with the meetings and get back to a normal schedule, but I appreciate everyone's participation very much.
Eric, as long as you have a pandemic going on, we're all sitting around waiting for something to do. So that's
So Derek, we have the 18th.
We have a meeting on the 18th, and then
and
we
the-
have a meeting on the 9th. That's a special meeting, which I need an answer from everyone. And then another meeting on the 16th. That's a regular meeting.
So we anticipate the hotel will probably take more than one meeting, so we're keeping the special meeting for the regular meeting in December for the hotel, which I believe is the 16th.
I feel like I need special training for the hotel meeting. Seriously. It's so different. I mean, I don't even know how it's different from what we've been doing.
That'll be, they'll have a lot more witnesses. There'll be a lot more participants. You just have to take your time. You're doing fine. People raise their hand, you let them speak, and they're all professionals. So it's good that they'll know how to work their screens and present, the exhibits, and we'll get through it. So it's
Shouldn't be an issue at all. It's just going to be bigger. That's all.
Okay.
Right.
A lot
Good.
bigger. So Derek, we're going to we'll start on the 11th on the hotel and then go to the 18th. And the 9th will be,
The 9th, we have 4 residential cases. I'm trying to get as many of those deemed complete so we can get them done before the end of the year. And then
great. Will there be anything else on the 18th or just the hotel?
it depends if the residential cases get, the upcoming meeting this month, there's a small residential case, Aiken first. So
Okay, all right,
we'll go through that one and then the hotel.
okay.
And that's the 18th. There's nothing on the 11th. The 11th is a holiday.
The 11th, yeah, it's been canceled, so. So the 18th of November and then December 9th, we've heard from a lot of members. And then the following weekend, I believe it's the
16.
Yep.
9 and 16.
Yep, in December.
Okay, very good.
So if you can
Okay.
let us know if you're available for the 9 and the 16.
Yeah, I'll be available. Let's send a note back to you, Claudia. This is Steve.
Yes, I saw that. Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey,
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, Michael.